Good morning, and welcome to Cafe Talk. It is Friday, August 28th, 2026.
Happy Friday. I like a Friday when the news has a little mystery in it, but not the kind that makes me hide behind my coffee.
Then today is a good match. We have AI-designed bacteriophages, fragrance growth at Estee Lauder, and Premier League referee reviews becoming public.
Science with a safety question, perfume with numbers, and soccer decisions with the curtain pulled back. That is a very mixed tray.
At Cafe Talk, we turn news into natural English conversation, so you can hear how people react, ask follow-up questions, and connect ideas.
It is like getting the news with a friend who pauses when you say, "Wait, what does that mean?"
If that kind of daily listening practice helps you, please subscribe and spend a few minutes with us whenever you want to hear news in English.
No giant textbook energy before breakfast? I appreciate that deeply.
Today's keyword is in plain sight, meaning visible openly, where people can see it.
In plain sight. I love that because sometimes the important part is not hidden at all. We just have not looked at it yet.
Exactly. In each story, something important becomes easier to see. What an AI-designed virus actually infects, what is helping fragrance growth, and how a referee decision was reviewed.
Okay, now I am curious. Let's start with the tiny viruses, but please keep the human panic level at 0.
We can do that. The first story is specific about what these viruses are.
Good. My coffee is staying on the table.
Then, let's begin.
Tiny science, clear language, and no dramatic coffee spills.
Scientists have used AI to design bacteriophages, and reports say 16 functional viruses were produced in a Stanford-related study. The news matters because they may have medical value, while biosecurity concerns remain.
16 sounds small enough to picture, but designed viruses still makes my brain reach for a very large warning label.
That reaction makes sense. So here is the key context. These are bacteria-infecting phages, not pathogens for humans.
Oh, that changes the picture. They are not tiny human villains. They are viruses aimed at bacteria.
Right. That distinction is in plain sight once it is said clearly, and it is why the possible medical value can be discussed without pretending there are no concerns.
I like that the story does not ask us to choose between amazing and terrifying in the first 10 seconds.
It does not. Smithsonian described both the potential role in medicine and the biosecurity concern around AI-designed bacteriophages.
I keep thinking of a kitchen knife, useful in the drawer, worrying if someone waves it around.
That is a natural way to picture it. The reported value and the reported concern belong in the same conversation.
Like keeping a sharp kitchen knife in the drawer, not waving it around because it is shiny.
Exactly, and the science itself is also easy to misunderstand. If we skip the word bacteria, the phages infect bacteria.
That one word does a lot of work. Without it, the headline feels like a movie trailer with the sound turned up too high.
Yes. Axios and Wired reported the 16 functional viruses, while the broader discussion includes possible medical use and biosecurity.
I can hear why people would lean closer. It is progress, but it asks us to stay awake while we admire it.
That is a thoughtful way to put it. Stay awake fits a story where careful language keeps the real subject in plain sight.
And lets me be interested, without pretending I suddenly have a lab coat in my bag.
No lab coat required. Just remember, bacteriophages infect bacteria, and the reported story holds both medical possibility and biosecurity concern.
Clear enough for my coffee table version of science?
That is the version we are aiming for.
Tiny viruses, big responsibility, steady heartbeat.
Estee Lauder has given a 2027 profit outlook above market estimates.
Why do Labo and Tom Ford matter in this particular news? I am trying to see how their names fit beside Estee Lauder's outlook.
Both names were reported as leading fragrance growth. That is the link. They appear with Estée Lauder's outlook and sales results because this update also includes fragrance growth.
So the 2027 outlook, the 6% quarter, the 5% full year, and fragrance growth are all parts of the same update.
Exactly. The outlook was above estimates, sales rose, and Labo and Tom Ford were reported as leading fragrance growth.
So the scent counter is not just pretty lighting and a hopeful spritz. It is a visible part of the growth story.
Exactly. The record also gives context, recovery in major markets, including China, and progress in its beauty reimagined strategy.
Recovery is one of those words that makes me picture a shop slowly turning its lights back on, one section at a time.
That image works. The outlook, the sales growth, and the fragrance names all sit together in this update.
I appreciate the recorded pieces. Otherwise, I start inventing a whole perfume commercial plot, and none of it belongs in the news.
Fair. We can stay with what is visible. Fiscal fourth quarter net sales were up 6%, and full-year net sales were up 5%.
2 numbers, 2 places to pause. That feels much easier than tossing them into one giant shopping bag.
And the 2027 profit outlook was above market estimates.
So above estimates means the outlook came in higher than what the market had expected.
That is it. The 2027 profit outlook was above market estimates.
That is a much calmer sentence than everything is perfect forever, which is probably why I should not run a perfume commercial.
Please keep the commercial in your tote bag. The news is about growth led by fragrance and the context around that reported outlook.
Fine, but I am keeping the imaginary soft lighting.
Soft lighting is allowed. The numbers and the fragrance names can stay on the table.
Deal. The numbers are in plain sight, and the fragrance story gives them a face.
The Premier League will publish KMI panel decision reviews every week, making details that were previously shared only with clubs and referees visible to fans. The stated aim is more transparency and trust.
Finally, if I am confused by a decision, I do not want the explanation locked in a tiny room with a sign that says, "Trust us."
That is the change. The KMI panel reviews decisions, and the detailed reasoning that was not public before will now be shared with fans.
So the panel is not making a new game out of the game. It is reviewing the decisions that already made people stare at the screen.
Exactly. The new public review is meant to make those decisions more transparent and help rebuild trust.
I can already picture people watching with one eyebrow up, but at least the explanation is joining the conversation.
Some matches will also add explanations from referees and VAR, as well as RefCam audio.
RefCam audio sounds intense. Hearing the people in the middle of a tense call would make the moment feel much less like a silent replay.
It gives fans more of the communication around certain matches, while the weekly panel reviews make the decision process more visible.
That is in plain sight, in a very practical form. Not everyone will agree, but more people can see how the call was reviewed.
Yes. The stated aim is transparency and trust.
That distinction matters. A clear explanation cannot make my team win, but it can keep me from arguing with my couch in total darkness.
Your couch deserves a calmer evening. Reuters reported the weekly public reviews on August 18th.
Weekly matters too. The reviews will be public every week.
Right. The report says the reviews will be public every week.
I like the rhythm of that. Game, decision, review, explanation. It feels more open than a mystery box.
And it keeps the central change simple. Details once shared only with clubs and referees will be available to fans.
My couch and I are ready to read along.
Then the final whistle can have a little more context.
That would be a lovely new rule for my living room.
3 very different stories, but each one asked us to look at something more clearly.
First, the AI-designed bacteriophages reminded us that virus needs context. These reported phages infect bacteria, not humans.
Then Estee Lauder's reported outlook and sales figures showed fragrance growth, led by Labo and Tom Ford.
And the Premier League is making review details more visible, which my couch considers excellent news.
Today's phrase was, in plain sight. It can remind us to notice the detail that makes a story clearer.
Not every answer becomes simple, but a clearer view is a much better place to start.
Which story would you want to see more clearly? Choose one of today's 3 stories.
Option A is the AI-designed bacteriophages, with their medical possibility and biosecurity concern.
Option B is Estee Lauder's fragrance growth and the outlook above market estimates.
Option C is the Premier League's public referee review details for fans.
Tell us your choice and why in the comments. Any language is welcome, and an emoji is welcome too.
I want to know which details stayed with you after the coffee cooled down.
If this conversation helped your English, please like, subscribe, and come back to Cafe Talk.
Have a good Friday, and keep the useful details in plain sight.